The Giants take it to the Yankees in a rain-shortened game. The Houston Astros absolutely obliterate the Angels, and the Guardians shut down the Royals. We'll talk about all that and more on this episode of MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into MLB Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we cover your teams each and every day in the way that just the Locked On Podcast Network can do it. I'm your host, Lindsey Crosby, host of the Locked On Braves postcast. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. He's Steve Lennox, host of the Red Sox postcast. Follow him on social media, Lennox on Baseball. And Steve, almost a full slate of games today. One cancellation for postponement. We'll get into that. But the most intriguing game of the day to me was one where they didn't even play the entire game. San Francisco Giants take down the Yankees 9-1 in 6 innings. Just kind of really interesting how this game developed. I've got a couple different clips here to play. The first one's from Ben Kaspick, host of our Locked On Giants show.
The Giants go into Yankee Stadium and keep going with their winning ways, but they do it in emphatic fashion. This is Ben Kaspick with the Locked On Giants podcast. The Giants scored 5 runs before they made an out in this game. 5 runs before they made an out. Jung-Hoo Lee, 3-run homer, his first homer of the year, his first at-bat in Yankee Stadium, and his breakout season, it's early in the season, just continues. He's been amazing. And Robbie Ray battling the elements in a game that was it was raining for this game, and it got called after, it was in the 6th inning, and they ended up calling the game, but the Giants had a 9-1 lead at that point. But Robbie Ray battled. He only made it through almost 100 pitches, walked a bunch of guys, but only gave up 2 hits, and struck out a bunch of Yankees. And so this was just a resounding, convincing win for the Giants, which is just great to see. They're 10-3. Great start to the year for the Giants. We'll break it down, this whole series down on Monday on the next Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
Thanks, Ben. And Steve, part of me thinks with the weather, should they have even started this game if it's raining the entire time versus getting just past the point of being official and calling the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm about 90 minutes in real time away from Yankee Stadium, where I live just outside of New Haven, Connecticut. We didn't have rain all day. So the Yankees are known for waiting long periods of time. Sometimes they'll, we've touched on it off air, Lindsey, of, Atlanta. They'll wash a game out. They'll postpone it. They'll put it at another date. The Yankees will do that too. But once they started, I guess they thought they could get it in. Playing in the elements, as Ben said. Marcus Stroman, you can't make excuses. Everyone's playing in it right now. Across the country, teams have come east. Teams have played in the Midwest. It's April. We know it's going to be nasty in most of the country. But Stroman, rough outing. Rough first inning, only got 2 outs and was yanked. Short game. And Robbie Ray, with the short game, 4 innings as a starter, does qualify and picks up the victory.
Yeah, 4 walks to 7 strikeouts for Ray. So you can see a little bit of issues with the weather, but he's still persevering through it, still getting his whiff, still getting his strikeouts. To your point, Marcus Stroman, 4 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks, records 1 strikeout, 2 total outs. His ERA is now 11.57. He gives up not just the home run to Jung-Hoo Lee, he gives up multiple doubles in the inning. It's not like it's just fluky stuff. It's hard hit balls. Marcus Stroman's getting blasted. We actually have a clip here from our friends over at Locked On Yankees from their side of this and kind of what they saw in this game.
Yankees lose to the Giants in a rain-shortened affair. Final score 9-1. They played just 6 innings. In fact, driving rain and freezing temperatures all night long. Surprised they even got 6 in. Again, 9-1 the final score. Marcus Stroman, He lasted just 2/3 of an inning after getting the start, allowed 5 runs in that first inning, and again, does not get out of the first frame, lasts just 2/3 of an inning, threw 46 pitches in that first frame. As for the offense, very little, just 2 hits on the Yankees side. Austin Wells, an RBI double, and again, 9-1 the final score. Yanks will play 2 more with San Francisco on Saturday and Sunday respectively, then 3 games with Kansas City. More importantly, looks like Clark Schmidt will return for the Bombers on either Tuesday or Wednesday against Kansas City. Again, 9-1 the final. Yanks lose to the Giants.
Thanks, Jay. We have some more on Kansas City coming up a little bit later. But Steve, what's worse, Marcus Stroman's 5 runs in 2/3 of an inning, or the offense only picking up 2 hits in a lineup that has a Cody Bellinger, and Aaron Judge, and Paul Goldschmidt?
Yeah, again, the Giants prove they can put up runs on a nasty day in the Bronx. The Yankees aren't hitting right now. Feast or famine, 2 hits. That's my guy, Jay Berman, right there. And mentioning Clark Schmidt. Marcus Stroman, you may be emphatic that you're a starting pitcher right now, but Clark Schmidt's on his way, and it's a long time for Luis Gil to return. But right now, 9-1 the final. You almost think that this game should have been 9-8 because the Yankees offense, but they don't have any offense right now. Jazz Chisholm not hitting, and there's a lot of guys in this lineup not hitting. There might be something to said, Lindsay, for the Yankees. They don't have a true leadoff hitter right now. I don't know how much that plays into it, but they're not hitting home runs at the ballpark, and they're not manufacturing runs. That's a big thing, and I think it's more the hitting than it is the pitching, because the pitching is what it is. That offense should be hitting.
Yeah, and Jazz Chisholm could be the leadoff hitter. He did it in Miami. He was good at that. I don't know why they've been so reluctant to try him in that. Moving on a bit, Astros and Angels. Another high-scoring game for one side. Houston 14, Angels 3. We've got something here from our friends over at Locked On Astros talking about their thoughts on what happened in this one.
Well, the Houston Astros won in big fashion tonight, 14-3 versus the Angels, pounding 16 hits. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse here with Locked On Astros. And the big takeaway from tonight's game, Yainer Diaz was a monster at the plate. 3 for 5 with the grand slam. He was a triple shy of the cycle. Cam Smith with his first big league home run. This is what the Astros need. The big takeaway tonight was the power bats showed up. The City Connect jerseys looked really good. And the Houston Astros feel great about Ronel Blanco's start as they walk away with a first game series win versus the Angels. They have 2 more in Houston, and hopefully they can ride this momentum and take a series and even possibly sweep the Angels, who have been hot. Stay tuned into Locked On Astros. We're your team every day.
Steve, I want to point out that Yainer Diaz, yes, he was a triple short of the cycle. He's also a catcher, so that is by far the hardest one of the 4 for him to get. But no, good game. They go 6 for 11 with runners in scoring position, which I think is just the big issue that they've been dealing with all year. Thoughts about the Astros side of this and what this means for their season?
Offense gets going. 6 runs in that 5th inning where Diaz hit the grand slam. And that made it 7-2. 4 more runs in the 6th, added 3 runs in the 8th inning. They're capable.
Yeah.
But we've touched on it of, Altuve, new position. Big bats no longer there. Tucker, Bregman, no one's going to feel bad for him. Everyone's going to want to kick dirt in the face of the Houston Astros, no matter who they're. By the way, those guys have left, and they're still getting booed. They're no longer even with the organization. They still get booed with their new teams.
Oh man, that's just that Astros hangover from that World Series and those trash cans kind of lingers there.
There's
flip
no
side of this game,
there's no forgiving.
No forgetting, yeah, or forgetting or forgiving. Flip side of this, John from Locked On Angels, another one of our hosts from Locked On MLB Game Night, by the way. We love John Frisch over here. He had some thoughts about what happened for the Angels. Jack Kachanowicz, 6 runs, 4 2/3 innings. Here's John with more about that.
Nope. Don't like that. What's going on, everybody? John Frisch, 1/2 of Locked On Angels. The Halos get obliterated by the Houston Astros in this series opener. We're really hoping that the Angels can come right back on Saturday. They've won 4 series in a row, and if they can win their 5th, that would be one of the best starts they've ever had in franchise history. Jack Kohanowitz was on the mound, didn't have it against the Astros on Friday night. The guy throws a lot of sinkers, and he tried to fool the guys at the plate with a lot of sliders, a little sweeper thrown in there. But here's what I think. Jack Kohanowitz needs to get these guys to look down, get them to 2 strikes, and throw that four-seam fastball at the top of the zone. That's something he's had success with in the past, something Jose Soriano does very well. Unfortunately, Jack did not do that in this game on Friday. We'll have more on Monday for you when we recap this series on Locked On Angels.
Some of the growing pains when you're counting on young players like Kohanowitz to try to get you to a point where you can contend, some of the difficulties you have to deal with there.
Yeah, and again, they both mentioned, Astros have a chance to win this series. The Angels, through their first 4, haven't lost a series. Lots to like with the Angels right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you lose game 1, 14-3 is the final. Logan O'Hoppe, 0 for 4 strikeouts. He takes that back to the hotel in Houston. But, they've gotten off to a good start. Let's see what this series is on Sunday. Because there's a lot to like about the Angels. And I'm glad they can come to the ballpark every day feeling good about themselves right now.
Yeah, it's honestly, I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. They can't come to the ballpark feeling good, so I'm glad somebody can. Speaking about a team not feeling good, Kansas City Royals get shut out by the Guardians 7-0. Real quick, here's Justin Latta from Locked On Guardians with his thoughts on how that went for Cleveland.
It's 4 wins in a row for your Cleveland Guardians. Justin Latta here from Locked On Guardians. Gabriel Arias with a big blow, a 3-run homer, 3 hits on the night, a breakout night for Gabriel Arias, who really needed that for his confidence. He was 0 for 15 coming into that. An error by the Royals sets that up, so he comes in and gets a 3-run homer. That was just enough off Chris Bubich, who is on a lot of lists this year for really good stuff and is off to a good start. So the Guardians did just enough against a really solid Royals starter. Tanner Bybee, not the most efficient tonight, but the bullpen came in, sliced through the Royals lineup like they did a year ago, and the Guardians were able to spread it out because of the Royals defense. Some nice at-bats by the Guardians late in the game. The Guardians played a clean game defensively. The Royals made 3 errors. The Guardians made none. They made a couple of nice defensive plays, including Gabriel Arias, including Carlos Santana. So the defense continues to get cleaned up. The bullpen is looking like it's back in order right now. You're getting some offensive contributions from some guys throughout the lineup that really haven't been giving that to you. And Tristan McKenzie pitched the 9th inning. That's how confident they got. And you won the Tanner Bybee start in this series with him not being at his best. So you can bring in all your big guns again tomorrow. Hopefully Ortiz has a longer start. But the Guardians, 4 in a row, beat the Royals, 4 wins again in a row against the AL Central. They are rolling right now. They look much better than they did in last week.
So, kind of covered everything there. Defense is looking good. You're making a lot of contact again. Your bullpen's good. Is there anything that Cleveland's missing right now to win the Central?
Just more offense. Terry Francona or vote now, pitching, defense, but just, wear and tear of just winning low-scoring games night in, night out over the course of 162. Just, the bats maybe consistently. Love Quan. I'm a huge Jose Ramirez guy. Just, offense. Just consistent offense where you're putting up, you're not always expecting your pitchers to give up 3 runs or less.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. So join the Trademaster program at supplyhouse.com/TM. Start ordering your plumbing, your HVAC, and your electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And promo code SH5 gets you 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Okay, Steve. So lot to get to. We were talking about the Central there. That was the AL. Let's keep it in the Central though, real quick. The the National League Central, the Reds and the Pirates. Cincinnati takes down the Pirates 5-3. Here is our friend Jeff from Locked On Reds with more thoughts about what happened there.
Usually when the Reds score 5 runs, you talk about the fact that the lineup went crazy, but it was really just one guy. and a lot of good opportunities. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and Jeimer Candelario hits a 2-run home run, beginning a bit of a breakout from the slump that started this season for him. The first 13 games have been super forgettable. He had a 5 OPS plus, where 100 is league average. So he's 95% below league average for the first 13 games. We knew that was changing. 2-run homer is the difference in the game for the Reds in this first win against the Pirates in 2025. And while the Reds scored 5 runs, the lineup itself really didn't go crazy. It was just that home run and a bunch of just bad plays by the Pirates, bad pitching by the Pirates, bad defense by the Pirates, and the Reds took advantage of it. Hopefully they can continue to do that for the rest of this series.
To Jeff's point, Steve, 4 hits from the offense in this one. Just feels like that's not nearly enough for you to get a win, but they somehow pull it out.
4 hits on each side. And kudos to Jeff. He's sort of talking about what the Pirates did. He just summed up the Pirates not just in Friday night's game, but he summed up the Pirates in the last decade or so, right? I mean, just, across the board. I mean,
bad pitching, bad defense. The offense hasn't done enough. That's the Pirates.
Highlights few and far between for the Pirates. Brady Singer picks up the win. 3 relievers for the Reds combined on 4 scoreless. I like Brady Singer. Lindsey, probably off the air at some point. We'll talk about the pitcher's win-loss record and if you believe in the win. But Brady Singer is now 3-0 and just an ERA a tick above 3. I'm a huge Brady Singer guy going back to his days at Florida and the SEC. I'm glad he's having success. But yeah, 4 hits apiece. You don't expect that from the Reds. And again, this offense still, I'm a big believer, but they got to get going.
Flip side of the Brady Singer thing with that trade, Jonathan Indigo went 0 for 4 today, batting just barely over 200, OPS barely over 600. So it kind of feels like they maybe early returns or they may have won that trade. Here's some thoughts from the Pirates side as to what happened real quick.
Walks and errors at Great American Ballpark is not a recipe for victory. I'm Gary Morgan from Locked On Pirates. Tonight, the Pirates dropped the first game of the series against the Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati, 5-3, mostly aided by a really bad throwing error by Andy Rodriguez, who was forced to take over catcher after Joey Bart had to leave with lower back strain. Hopefully that doesn't turn out to be a big deal, or else the Pirates are going to have to do an emergency call-up of Henry Davis, who may or may not be ready.
What's really funny there is they had just traded Jason DeLay to Atlanta like a week and a half ago, and then now they lost Andy Rodriguez. By the way, Indy's 4th error of the year. The Pirates have played a grand total of 14 games, and he hasn't caught all of them.
And Henry Davis was a 1-1. It's time for him to be ready for the big leagues, right?
And yet it just hasn't worked out for them. And that's kind of been, you talked about the Pirates. That's been the story of the Pirates, is these things just not working out for them. That's got to be frustrating.
And that was Gary, right?
That was Gary.
Gary knows. Gary's been through this. I mean, that's just another recap from Gary of, we've hit on this yesterday. We got to figure out a new way to talk about the inept.
You can see the shell shocked in Gary's eyes when he discusses that. Okay. I want to move to the East real quick, because we had a trio of games all in the Eastern divisions, mostly National League East, a little bit of American League East involved in this. Marlins Nationals 7, Marlins 4. We've talked before on this show about the Nationals are a little bit of a sneaky team and they can do something. Here's some thoughts from the losing side, from the Marlins side, about what happened in that loss today.
The Marlins had the lead, but they blow it late to the Washington Nationals. What's up, guys? It's Jeremiah Geiger from Locked On Marlins. Edward Cabrera made his season debut for the Marlins, and he looked impressive, but I'm not willing to buy in. I've seen this story before, and in his 3rd time through the order, he gave up a 2-run home run to Josh Bell, and that's on Clayton McCullough. Cabrera has been awful throughout his career, his 3rd time through the order. You got to take him out. I don't know why you put him in for the 6th inning. And also, why are you starting Eric Wagman at the DH? He's a designated hitter that can't hit. He was hitting cleanup. He did nothing. Wasted a good day from Kyle Stowers, who doubled and tripled. Didn't really like the managerial decisions today, but I did like Kyle Stowers, his performance. I think Xavier Edwards got a really clutch hit. I like seeing that from X. But Anthony Bender's the guy that, in the end, just couldn't get it done. Gave up a bases-loaded, bases-clearing double to Nathaniel Lowe, the pinch hitter that gave the Nationals the lead, and they ultimately hung on to that lead as they win 7-4. The Marlins will be back tomorrow with Sandy Alcantara.
My question for you, Steve. Anthony Venziano gave up 2 runs on 1 hit and recorded only 1 out. And then Bender comes in, gets the blown save and the loss. Is this like a bullpen issue? Is this a managerial issue as to which reliever you went to? Or is this is what bad teams do?
Managers aren't allowed to go with a feel anymore, right? All those numbers dictated how they were going to use their bullpen in those situations, and it doesn't work out. The Marlins aren't the only one, but it's the manager who has to answer for those decisions.
Yep.
And, along those lines, hey, here's the paperwork that indicates that we should have done it. It didn't work out. He may have had a feel for it in a different way, but he go by the numbers, die by the numbers on occasion.
Yep. So some more action in this division. Blue Jays, Orioles supposed to play today. That was postponed. We got in the East as well. The Braves and Rays played. Tampa Bay 6, Atlanta 3. Another situation. Atlanta put up 31 pitches on Taj Bradley in the first inning. He takes only 62 the next 5 innings. They can never really get the offense going. End up dropping that 6-3. And then the segue that I was trying to plan there was more action in the same division as the Rays, with the Blue Jays and Orioles being postponed. Are we at the point where the Braves should be looking down at the Marlins and Nationals and being worried versus looking up at the Mets and Phillies and being aspirational? Where are we here on this, on the power rankings for the East?
And I'll take it a little bit farther to go out west.
Mm-hmm.
With the Dodgers are looking up at the Giants and the Padres right now. Right now, you'd think logically that your wild card teams are coming out of the West. So not only are the Braves, trying to get back in the division race in the NL East, but you're burying yourself for a wild card spot potentially in that sense as well. They've got to score runs. Again, they're digging a hole. They're not scoring enough. 3-10 start. Elder, I saw him at Texas when he was at the college level, but he's going to throw a lot. He's another guy. He's going to be 80 plus. He's not going to. He'll show you every once in a while. He had a complete game, a shutout early on in his Braves career at the big league level. But he's a guy who he'll be a guy who's at 90 pitches in 5 innings, and you're going to the bullpen. He's not a guy you can trust that's going to give you any type of length where you can say our bullpen, for the most part, might get a night off here. Doesn't happen with him.
He also had some.
And you know better than I do, but that's what I've seen.
He also had some bad luck in this one. Threw a changeup to righty Christopher Morel below the zone and inside that Morel went down and got for a home run. I looked in StatCast. There were 1,756 identical pitches like that last year. Changeups to a right-handed hitter down below and inside. One of them was hit for a home run. So some bad luck for Bryce Elder as well. Yeah. All right. Just a second. We have a bunch of late games that wrapped up recently. We'll get to those next right here on MLB Game Night. Okay, so sticking in this division real quick. Phillies and the Cardinals. Cardinals blanked them 2-0. One of the more surprising, results for me until you think about the fact that Atlanta-Philly game yesterday should have been played during the day. It was delayed. They went to extras. It ended after midnight Eastern time. I don't know what time the Phillies got into St. Louis. I know the Braves got into Tampa at 4:45 in the morning is what time they hit the hotel. Here's Connor Thomas from Locked On Phillies with his thoughts on how this game went.
The Phils fall 2-0 to the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies, and this is one of those games you kind of had to expect after last night. A marathon game that had a 2-hour, 44-minute rain delay that went into the 11th inning. And it's a getaway day, so they have to hop on a plane at 1 a.m. to St. Louis. I mean, I can't totally blame the offense for being asleep tonight when we were all ready to go to bed last night when they were playing late. Aaron Nola was pretty darn good. You can take that as a positive. This is not a game that you can look at and say it's indicative of what this Phillies team is. This is a game where you look at and say this was a tough spot for the team, and you kind of have to live with these over the course of the Major League Baseball schedule. Should this offense produce more than they did tonight? Absolutely. Am I going to kill him for it because of the spot? No, I mean, I can't. It sucks, but that's the reality of baseball. They're still winning this series. Sanchez, Wheeler, the next couple days, they're going to be totally fine. Take a deep breath. We'll talk to you on Monday on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.
You think he's right there? You know, it's 3 hits, no runs. It's probably because of the travel. Flush it and move on.
Yeah, 3 hits, all singles, 0 for 5 runners in scoring position. They tried to put something together. Kyle Schwarber, a stolen base. His first of the season, 28th of his career. I looked it up. He had 10 with the Phillies in 2022. So, heavy legs, yeah, but Schwarber is in motion to run the bases. I mentioned Nola, 0-3, ERA over 5.5. But, the 5 innings, 2 earned runs. He walked too many, walked 4, struck out 7. Palante, 7 scoreless for the Cardinals on the other side. And the Cardinals, I don't know what to make of them right now because they get hitting, they don't get pitching. They get pitching, they don't get hitting. But a 2-0 victory. And Sanchez, Wheeler set up the rest of the series, as he mentioned. So it'll be curious to see how the Phillies end up departing from St. Louis on Sunday after, getting their legs under them, getting a good night's sleep in a hotel, getting to the ballpark on Saturday.
Hopefully both them and the Braves can make it happen a little better. Sticking with some central teams here, the Tigers and the Twins played. Detroit 7, Minnesota 6. Are we seeing the return of Byron Buxton? Is Byron Buxton back?
Until he lands awkwardly running the bases or does something, strains a hamstring, running something out. Second home run of the season. Again, another guy, you want him to put it all together. He's put it all together, but you just want him in the lineup.
They be healthy.
Backed him off. Yeah, just be healthy, and he'll produce. But the Tigers, hey, they're putting things together right now. And again, a little bit of a slow start, 0-3, but they've now won 6 of 7 with the win against Minnesota on Friday.
Yep. Tigers are still in first place in this division, 8-5. They're in first place. Down towards the bottom of this division, White Sox. They take down your Red Sox 11-1. Kind of real quick, what happened there?
Let's just move on.
Okay, here we go.
You know what? In the bottom of the first inning, Sean Newcomb throws 11 pitches to the first batter of the game. Issues a walk. That's bad.
Yeah.
He got out of that first inning, but the White Sox, end an 8-game losing streak. Newcomb doesn't get the job done. The offense is still not getting the job done. Chase Mydroth, who was in the package that went to Chicago from Boston for Crochet, who goes on Sunday in the finale, got his first major league base hit, got things going in a 4-run fourth inning against Newcomb. But this is the second straight year where the Red Sox are going into Chicago, and they're having a bad series early on. I think last year they went to the series finale needing a win to avoid the series sweep. They might have that on Sunday with Crochet on the other side and pitching for them.
Atlanta going to the White Sox last year. They went 1-1. Third game got snowed out, actually, because it was like the first week of the season. And then when it was made up, they dropped it. So Atlanta also lost their series to the White Sox last year. It's just, for some reason, some of our teams don't do well against the White Sox early in the year. All right, moving out west to the west here. Couple different games I want to just touch on real quick. Padres, Rockies, 8-0 San Diego. I don't think we're super surprised by the outcome there. Brewers take down the Diamondbacks 7-0. Dodgers beat the Cubs 3-0. I think the biggest surprise to me is Milwaukee taking down Arizona, because I think we've both been pretty high on Arizona. Here's some thoughts from the Brewers side of the game as to what happened in that one.
Boy, it's just incredible. No matter who the Brewers put out there as a starting pitcher these days, as banged up as they are, man, one good start after another. Chuck Freeman, instant reaction following the Brewers' 7-0 win in Arizona. Little odd seeing Jose Quintana out on the mound tonight after he's been a mound opponent all these years. Pitched against the Brewers last year in the playoffs and, of course, with the Cubs. And, boy, it was classic Jose Quintana. How about that? He's up in the upper 30s and still was really good, really efficient. 7 strong innings. Did not expect that at all from Quintana to go 7. First start of the year, and, man, he was magnificent. He never was really in trouble at all. Just glided through the order, up and down. No problem whatsoever. Man, I'm not going to put any pressure on him, but, man, if he could pitch like that, Brewers are going to be in good shape here with some of their other starting pitching coming back. We'll talk to you more on Sunday night on the next edition of Locked On Brewers. Please subscribe, everybody.
Thanks for that, Chuck. Real quick, if we assume that the Padres and whichever of the Mets or Phillies doesn't win the National League East makes the wild card, who is more likely to be the third wild card? The Arizona Diamondbacks or the Atlanta Braves?
Oh.
It's tough, isn't it? Not going to hurt my feelings, Steve. Go ahead.
I think I'd go with the Diamondbacks right now, just because of the record of where the Braves are right now. And it's still a while away from Acuna coming back. We've touched on Spencer Strider. Looks like he's going to join the rotation. But I'd go Arizona right now. Out of
Arizona quietly had one of the best offenses in baseball last year. Like, people don't realize it because they're out west. One of the best offenses in baseball. Speaking of an offense that was surprisingly good, I think last year, and has been surprisingly good this year, the Oakland A's versus the Sacramento A's, the Athletics, whatever they're called now, versus the New York Mets. Have you done that? I
want to go Sacramento. Just to, as Tristan Casas wants to irk everybody, let's go Sacramento. I'll go Sacramento on occasion just to irk Major League Baseball.
There you go. Mets 7, A's 6. This was my first time watching the majority of a game played in Sacramento in that ballpark. It just kind of has a different vibe from a Major League game, doesn't it?
It really does. Off the bat, balls carry. I think, the interesting thing is, and they said on the Mets SNY broadcast, they have a following of A's fans. That's a AAA ballpark. It's AAA fan base. But, Sacramento is known for supporting their teams. But you had Let's Go Mets chants there. And the A's, it's their home ballpark. But it might be 45, 55, 50, 50 on occasion that you have the opposing team's fan base bigger on certain nights in terms of attendance than A's fans.
That's going to happen in Vegas too. That's absolutely going to happen in a tourist area like Vegas. So they just have to get used to that, I guess. But I thought it was a good. Pete Alonso, 3 hits, massive home run in the 8th inning. Ended up being a pretty big because the A's made a push late, scored 2 runs in the 9th, but just couldn't quite get it together. This has been MLB.
The A's were close. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, but I was going to say, we're kind of coming to the end of MLB game night. Yep. Any final thoughts on the day of action that we had, Steve?
Dodgers, Freddie Freeman back in the lineup. Didn't collect a hit, but he returns to the lineup on Freddie Freeman bobblehead giveaway night. Love that. And his son, Charlie, throughout the first pitch.
I'm a big fan of Charlie. I've always loved Freddie and Charlie since they were here in Atlanta. Big fans of those guys. I'm glad to see he's back. And the Dodgers, that's going to help them because they've been a little sloppy. Offensively, defensively, getting him back, one of those leaders in the clubhouse types, that's going to be big.
Agreed.
This has been MLB Game Night. Do us a favor. Listening on audio, subscribe to Locked On MLB, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live tomorrow night. Until next time, this has been MLB Game Night.